Welcome back to Ride JBI. I'm JB. Welcome back to Ride JBI. My name is Anthony, and in today's video, we're going to talk about what we did, why we did it, and most importantly, what this rider should expect once he gets his JBI spec suspension back. Now, this set of KYB suspension belongs to a 2025 Yamaha YZ450F that is going to be ridden in the Phoenix, Arizona area for strictly motocross. Now, without further ado, let's hop into the KYB SSS forks and see what we did. So at the heart of all of our JBI spec revalves is the JBI spec valving. Now, you might be thinking, what is JBI spec? JBI spec is a fancy term for us here saying at Ride JBI that it has been tuned by Ride JBI. So think of us going in, breaking down the shim stacks and replacing it with the JBI spec valving. So right here, I have some shims laid out that represents the valving that we did on the base valve, the sub valve, the mid valve, both compression and rebound. So think of this as a very holistic and comprehensive approach to us revalving the suspension. Now, we learned through testing and tuning and many years of just development that we can only go so far with the shim stack settings. So with that, we have developed JBI hard ports over the course of time. Now, in the middle here is our JBI fork volume spacer. Now, what this does is takes up about 40 cc's of volume, and instead of adding or decreasing oil into your fork, you can add the JBI fork volume spacer. This also makes the fork feel quite a bit more progressive. So you're looking for more of a progressive feel out of your KYB SSS front forks or even the Showa forks. We got some fork volume spacers for you here in stock at Ride JBI HQ. Now, last but not least, we need to take care of that bottoming resistance. We can take that a step further with our JBI Titanium Pro Perch. The stock spring seat is plastic, is not the most efficient design, and that's why JB went ahead and developed the JBI Titanium Pro Perch. Now, this Pro Perch has a unique characteristic that no other spring seat has on the market. It has the unique ability to flex open under a certain amount of pressure as it is speed sensitive. This is the latest and greatest iteration of the JBI Titanium Pro Perch. Now, once again, just to recap, we did our JBI spec valving. That is at the heart of all of their JBI spec revalves and or DIY kits. Middle section of the fork, we have our JBI fork volume spacer, which has been recently updated as no bands to hold it together in place. It is now a full one-piece design. So it just goes ahead and slides up on the fork cartridge pretty easily, but you might need a little bit of grease if you're installing these at home. Last but not least, again, we have our JBI Titanium Pro Perch, and that really takes the bottom resistance from like a 7 or an 8. It really puts it at an 11. Again, it has a unique characteristic to flex open under a certain amount of pressure as it is speed sensitive. Now that we've covered up front with the KYB SSS forks, we're going to head out back and see what the KYB shock has to offer. So we're out back on the KYB suspension for this 2025 Yamaha YZ450F. I have the shock just to my left here. Now, again, at the heart of all of our JBI spec revalves is going to be the shim setting or the valving setting for this shock. So we went ahead, replaced all of the stock shims with our JBI spec valving on both the main piston, that being the compression side, the rebound side. And there's also a piston behind your compression adjuster seen here with its own shim stack as well. Once again, as you would probably guess or just know by now, we go ahead and revalve that as well. Now, most of you guys who have been tuning in to the Ride JBI YouTube channel, you probably noticed that we commonly switch out any KYB triple adjuster to this dual style adjuster. This is the preferred adjuster here at Ride JBI, as we have found this adjuster is a lot more efficient when oil flows through it. So after testing and tuning, again, we just do find that this dual adjuster is the way to go. So there's no need to really swap out any hard parts, as this KYB rear shock is pretty much just cocked, locked, and ready to rock. We just have to do our JBI spec valving, and that's really the hard work with this KYB rear shock. Now, if you're looking at this shock, you must be thinking, man, this is a heavy duty spring. And you are correct. Again, this is just a revalve with a respring. So think of this as a really holistic and comprehensive setup for this rider. The spring's main job here is to support A, the weight of the bike, and B, the weight of the rider. So we have this spring properly in place, set to its proper preload for this rider. So once he goes ahead and mounts this onto his bike, it's be pretty close to his actual sag measurement. So again, he'll mount this to his bike, measure his sag, and it should be pretty close, if not bang on. Now, the last piece of the puzzle is the KYB bladder cap. I have it just to the left of me here. Whoop, almost dropped it for you. Anyways, the unique thing about this guy is it has a Schrader fill valve for this bladder cap. Now, the stock one has a rubber plug. You can also find those in a basketball. So you don't really want to be charging your shock with nitrogen and have it leak out due to the poor design of just a rubber plug. Let's just go over what we did here on the KYB rear shock. At the heart of all of our JBI spec revalves is again the JBI spec valving. That is all the shims on the main piston, compression, and rebound side. All of the shims on the compression adjuster piston. Behind this compression adjuster seen here, we also add the black KYB bladder cap. And then last but not least, we also included the spring to match the rider's weight, as this rider was out of the targeted weight range of the stock spring rates. Now, if you're unsure what spring rate you need for your bike, don't worry, Ride JBI has got you covered. So if you go to ridejbi.com and click on the JBI bike specs page on the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see a bunch of different models listed, from the YZ450F to the Stark Varg MX, the 2025 Kawasaki KX250, and many more. And if you click on any of those product pages, you will see spring rate charts for both the front forks and the rear shock. Now, we don't have every year, make, and model bike listed yet. That is to come very, very soon. A lot of the Austrian models have not been uploaded yet. We're working on that behind the scenes here at Ride JBI. But if you have a Japanese model bike, more than likely your bike is listed, especially if it's a 2025 model year bike. So if you're unsure on the spring rates for both front forks and the rear shock, you can go ahead to ridejbi.com and check out our newly addition to the website, which is our JBI bike specs page with its spring rate chart or guide. Now that we've talked about what we did, why we did it, we need to cover what this rider should expect. Now, with all of our JBI spec DIY kits and or revalve services, we want the suspension to be plusher and smoother over small to medium bumps. We want it to have more hold up during aggressive riding. And last but not least, have better bottoming resistance when you go big. Now, again, that is for both the front forks and the rear shock. And our job here at Ride JBI is to amplify the already good characteristics of the motorcycle. We do not want to reinvent the wheel and change your bike entirely. We want to really just amplify those good characteristics of the motorcycle. Again, that being plush and smooth over small bumps, having good bottoming resistance, and everything in between. Now that's going to wrap it up for this JBI spec video. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and staying all the way to the end. Once again, the suspension is for a 2025 Yamaha YZ450F that is going to be doing motocross with a big boy on it out in the Phoenix, Arizona area. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys in the next Ride JBI episode. Peace.